This is temporary. I promise. Hey, 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 look at me. Let's talk about it after you're published. Yes? It'll be fine.
Okay, everybody, we are back on Play It Forward today. We have Richa Rudola, filmmaker, writer, director. The film we'll be talking about today is called Cow, Heavy, and Floral, a very polished professional piece. Um, Richa, it's my pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Kostya. Hi, everyone. I'm Richa Rudola. I make films. I use both parts of my brains, left brain and right brain, and everything I bring. The kind of films I love to make are, I like to think of them as sort of intellectually thought-provoking as well as emotionally sort of heart-moving. So the film that we're talking about today is Cow, Heavy, and Floral. It's a short film that I just completed 2 months ago. And it's about a postpartum writer that is struggling to make a deadline as she experiences an identity crisis between her four personas, cow, heavy, and floral. It is also a split screen film, which mimics the emotional journey of the protagonist.
You're such a professional. You really are, and you're such a really just, thoughtful person. You said four personas, cow, heavy, and floral. Okay,
Correct.
where's the fourth?
It's and is one.
And
Yeah, I know, cow
oh,
is the mother persona, heavy is the writer persona, and is just her as a person, that our connection with our inner spirit, just who we are before we have all these relationships with others. And floral is my take on sort of a literal and metaphoric take on dreams when we
mm,
dream. So we actually in the film see her dreaming in that quadrant of the split screen.
okay, I love that.
I know you've
Okay,
seen the film, so you're rethinking it right now.
well, okay, one more time. So cow
Yeah.
is the mother,
The mother persona
heavy is the writer.
is the writer persona and is just her as a sort of person.
Huh.
And floral is her as
Oh,
a dreamer. Mother,
yeah,
writer, person,
yeah.
dream.
It's really interesting that the and for you is the individual that kind of binds everything. Um, it was again, I've said it was a really professional, polished piece. It's a very intelligent piece, and it is also, um, you know, uh, talks about a subject that's very close to my heart. I have a 4 year old or a 5 year old now, and it was hell. The early years were a nightmare. Now they were also a dream, and they were floral. I had the beautiful moments and lots of them, thankfully. Then there were also the dark, dark, dark moments where you are, bursting the bounds of your capabilities. You're going beyond what you're capable of doing, and you have to just go through extreme agony and suffering. And nobody talks about the whether it's postpartum depression or on the mother side, on the father side, or just the natural. And postpartum depression is like natural, like that is
Mhm.
so part of the process, to whatever degree you have it. And, it's very little talked about. Grandparents, people that are many years away from it, they're like, oh, it's such a beautiful baby. But when you're in it and you have no expectation of what that's going to be like, and then you have to provide 24/7 every single need to this child, which for years, and then it overtakes your own needs for basic needs for sleep. It puts us in an extreme situation. So that's sort of the setup in terms of that's what the mother encounters. She's a young mother, and she's all of a sudden in this position of taking care of an infant child, a small baby, and she has her own life and her own dreams and her own aspirations, and she has to rebalance everything and try to maintain a sense of um joy in her world, her personal joy and what inspires her, and take care of something that is so extreme. So it seems like this came from your own experience with childbirth. Did it?
It absolutely did. In fact, listening to you, I'm tearing up. It's dried a bit now, but I was tearing up listening to
I've
you.
talked a while.
I know, no, because it is. I'm not even harking back to my own experience. Just listening to you describe it, I felt empathetically. It's a lot. It's a lot. It eclipses often our sense of self. So I definitely went through that. And the thing is, I was not aware at the time I was going through it. So certain kinds of like insights and perspectives came a little bit after the fact. And my son turned 3, 3-4 months ago. So he's going to be 3.5 in a bit. And I thought at the time that when I was, preparing for his birth 4 years ago or so, that postpartum depression, I definitely knew about it. And I definitely read maybe a little bit about it, but I always thought postpartum depression happens right after the baby's born. Again, I don't know why our brain sometimes just comes up with certain attachments or interpretations. So for me to have gone through it maybe 4, 5, 6 months in, around the time that perhaps I was starting to come back to work for my day job, so to speak. And I, during this period, was continuing to do film work. So actually didn't,
Wow.
again, it's probably my choice. I did this to myself, you can say. I kept working on my sort of big projects. I had a big project that was sort of going on at the time. And in trying to launch it, I never actually gave myself a break. So actually what you see in the film, that fierce struggle between personal ambition and taking care of a little one, they both can be so all-consuming. Art, any kind of creative work, I think consumes all of your faculties. I think so. It certainly is true for me, or at least the kind of work that I have done or chosen to do. I feel spent afterwards, usually in a good way, but definitely spent. And when you're taking care of a child, you are spent in all kinds of ways. Like you're spent in ways that like things are oozing out of you that you don't even expect to.
Right.
And both physically and literally.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, around that time I had read the Sylvia Plath poem, Morning Song, in which she had written that at the time. It's part of Ariel, her book of poems. She had written that when she herself was a mother of 2. And I suspect she was going through her own version of postpartum depression. She anyway had issues with mental health, and she never self-diagnosed herself that way. But when you read about her life and her work and her beautiful pieces of poems, I got the sense that she was going to that too. And there's a verse in the poem, Cow Heavy.
I was just going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually is her referring to, she's in like this fog-like state because she just put the baby down, but now all of a sudden the baby's crying. She gets up in her Victorian floral dress. She's cow heavy because she's lactating. It's time to feed the child, even though it feels like she just put the baby down and went to sleep. And, and my son never actually took to the breast. So I was breast pumping. Nothing will make you feel more like a cow than you sitting in the corner. Actually, that was the couch that I used to breast pump on sometimes 8 times a day. You're not even the baby. You just feel like a cow. So something about that verse resonated in me. And this is maybe 2 years ago, when I was like he was almost 2 years old, is when I wrote the first semblance of he was 1 year old then. I wrote the first semblance of the story down. And in my head, it was very clear that Cow Heavy and Floral was the title. And then the insight came to me to make it split screen. It was not my own idea, actually. I was writing on this very desk, and I have a beautiful window and a tree outside, and a lot of good ideas actually come to me from that. And it just, because, trying to think about how do you show all of these identities that we feel? We have a multitude of identities even before we become parents. But you become a parent, and then it's just like, it starts to eclipse other things. So it was like, then why not do it in split screen? And let me tell you, the most complicated script I've ever written was this one, because I had to find a way to, because Final Draft doesn't support split screen in this manner. I came up with color coding it, then I wrote a Google Slides version of the script, and then our executive producer, I really, bless his heart, Elia Petridis, pushed me to be like, respect the craft, Richard. Go back to Final Draft, find a way to put it in screenwriting mode, and I did it. And just the writing of the film, and then of this, and then just getting people on board one by one who read it were like, we want to make this. Let's make it together. Leela Med-O'Connor, my producer, one of my two producers, she is the first one who read like a half-baked version of the script and loved it, and she said, we're going to make this. So stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Slowly starting to make me feel recomposed, and not recomposed to my old self. The same way my old clothes don't fit, like my waistline is shot with a C-section. So I don't try to fit into old clothes. The same way I don't think I'm the person I was before, but I'm a new person. I'm a maybe better person, because this is definitely my best work yet. So you can have the darkness, but my son is a source of light for me. And I hope that he doesn't grow up and think, oh gosh, mama had postpartum depression and she made this when I was, I hope he doesn't think all that, because of him, actually, I've become a better artist. God, I'm tearing up saying that. I hope he has positive experience with this. So for me, it's been my own sense of healing. And, with the way we made the film, fantastic film. Like, I actually think that I was not capable of making this film. We were in the first or second stage of the draft edit, and our amazing editor, Noelia, I was like, Noelia, who made this film? Who are the people that made this film? Because I don't think it's me involved. Like, more than with any other film, my incredible team, I see every single person's work in every single frame, especially my producers. You would think, how can producers have an input? 100%. Leela and Robin have been incrementally a part of like just the crafting of the story, everything. Just so for me, I think that the way we made the film, and we chose the tagline, "Film by Parents," that is also an expression. It's not just the film by itself, it's also how we chose to make it, because we recognize how difficult it is to coexist. So, and a lot of the people on the team are parents, so they kind of got it, So that was also part of it, like trying to find the right team, because it's not that we were saying no to people, but it was more like, how do you find somebody who really understands and resonates with the mission of the film? And we're at an interesting point, Kostya, where we finished the film 2-3 months ago. We've had some very nice personalized rejections from some top festivals. We've not gotten in anywhere. And yet every single person who has seen it, including some film programmers, they just rave about it. And it's okay to, like, again, like I was sharing earlier, I don't necessarily think of film festivals as like the North Star. Earlier in my career, I have done that. But with this film, my gut has been telling me for a long time that maybe the right audience for this film is not sitting in film festivals. So while we're very happy to give a few film festivals an opportunity to let us screen there, we are sort of trying to figure out a separate social impact campaign on the side. And that's really the goal with this.
That's great. I think that's a very mature approach, and it's just the widest audience, and it's going to have an impact. It's going to have a big impact. It already has. I have no doubt in my mind that your son will know how much you love him, and as he matures, he will appreciate what you've done with your life. And I think you will be a huge role model to him, and a source of balance, and always coming back to a source of center. There's no doubt about that. And truth, the truth is that having a child and doing it right, wanting to give yourself and that child everything they need, which is a healthy, happy person, mother as well, is hard. It's very, very hard. And
Absolutely.
it really that's the toughest part, you know, is doing it right. And so that's okay. That's just part of it. And that's going to be important for, you know, our children to know as they grow up and
Absolutely.
decide whether they're going to have children. They've got to do it with open eyes.
And I think that was part of the reason that I resonate so much with the emotional message of the film. What I hope is the emotional message of
Yeah.
the film is that, you know, at one point the split screens go away. And there's a reason for that.
What at one point, what goes away?
In the
The
film,
split
the split
screens.
screens
Yeah, which I
did go
love. It was
away.
great. Great job.
And it
Yeah.
was it's a, you know, a concerted decision to, like, when the worst you can imagine has happened, can happen, has happened, the split screens sort of disappear.
Right.
And then you see the character come to an emotional understanding that she can't have it all. And that's okay. So we live in single screen, we live in the present, we do what we can at that time. And that means that certain things will sit on the back burner, they'll wait, you'll come back to them, it'll take time. This is a learning I've had to do myself.
Mhm.
So it was really fun playing with split screen format that way. To how can we get that technique to tell the actual story? It's not just a sexy thing we're trying on from the beginning. The script
No, it
was written
works. Yeah.
it was always supposed to, but still at that point, you know, because I am the least technical director out there. I am positive I am the least technical director out there. I don't know. I struggle with laptop stuff sometimes. I'm just like not good with technicalities. So for someone like me to have made a film like this, it was never about the technicality. It was always about how do you make, and I work with such an amazing team that they were able to translate what needed to happen. And it ultimately, if you can live that choice, that's scary when you don't know what's happening, when you think that in a way I can't have it all. I tried so hard and I failed. I can't have it all.
Cannot.
Um, no, cannot. Sorry, it's my Indian accent. Cannot have it all. Um, and living in that uncertainty. And that can be really scary for people. It can be scary for people like me who have liked historically like time-bound things, you know, deadlines on things and wanting to achieve certain things by a certain time. Choosing to start my family late was part of that too, because I was trying to do all of these things. And I didn't go to film school. So for me to have come into filmmaking late, um, while having this like corporate career, and until I got my green card, I couldn't have walked away from that because there were visa things tied to it. So I always felt like there were these like silver or bronze handcuffs. I wouldn't call them golden handcuffs, but I'll call them like,
I get it.
you know,
Right.
copper
Right.
handcuffs or
Right.
whatever.
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was hard to, how do you find the most, how do you live your honest truth? And I think I chose filmmaking, at least at this time in my life, because that seems to be a one way that I can express my honest truth. For a while, I was writing film reviews. That was all, you know, to read a good film review is the best thing. Like Roger Ebert, like I just watched A Woman Under the Influence. I can't believe I'd never seen it. And that film is a piece of art. And then you read Roger Ebert's review of it, that is a piece of art, you know? So for a while, that expression for me was writing film reviews. And then I found my way into screenwriting. And then I never thought I would actually make films. And I became a filmmaker. Who knows
Wow.
what I'll do next? I
Wow.
might do a PhD someday if I can get my act together.
So cool.
How do I just be my honest version of it? So
Right.
if my son can just take that from me,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and for that, like having that, what do you call it? Like the trade-off, being aware of the trade-off, that willing to give something up, recognizing what you value and be willing to give something up, or saying no to certain things so that you can say yes to the things that you really want to say
Right.
yes to.
Right.
That has been my truth. And this film has actually helped me live that and realize that.
Well, that's a very, very high truth and a very divine place. You know, it's a place where you're connected with the source and your actions, all your actions are not only guided from there, but directed to it, right? So you're coming from that place and going to that place at the same time. it's a profound way to live as a human. And I think it's an inspired place. It's a place where that's the reason to live is because you are, whatever you're doing, you're in that point of inspiration. You're close, you're connected. And especially as an artist. So to go back to what you said about your character in the film, and the split screens disappeared. I want to make sure you said they discover they cannot have it all, or they can.
Cannot have it
Cannot
all.
have it all.
The
Okay.
split screens are a manifestation of trying to have it
Right,
all.
right,
That's
right,
why you
right.
see different parts of her personality
Yes,
and
yes,
identity activate.
yes, yes,
So
yes,
each split screen is analogous to a part of her
yes,
identity,
yes,
which
yes.
she's trying to give, water at the same time. And then at the end, she realizes cannot. So let's just let this plant breathe. Not the best analogy that I just used, but this split screens going away to single screen is her realizing cannot have it all. So we'll live this one truth, one moment
Right.
at it.
Right. And the reason I wanted to clarify that, because I really like the message, and I really like what you're saying. And I think to some people it might be like hard. Well, what do you mean I can't have it all? I want to experience, I want to free. And I think the question is, how do we define it? What is having it all? Because in our, psyche as modern citizens of the world, it's like, oh, I want to have a child, I want to have a family, I want to have a career, I want to, be an artist, I want to be an astronaut. There's all these things that are so accessible to us, especially if we have this ambition and this sense of ambition, this desire to realize our potential and whatever that means. And then you come to a point where it's like, well, what is ambition? What are we doing with this ambition? What is it? Is it a way that I am feeling good about myself as a person because I don't feel good about myself as a person in certain ways? Or where is it coming from? What am I trying to achieve? And in this modern culture, I think oftentimes we're trying to grasp at things, we're Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, just get that, and then there is another way, and this other way of accepting, of being, of allowing, and that all of a sudden opens up a different opportunity. And
That's
that
a
can,
really profound
yeah,
thing that
yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off,
No,
Costi.
I'm done.
It is such a profound thing you're saying, because I have noticed and discovered about myself that I'm always trying to find that, always. And what I have,
Which is that?
that the thing that makes you feel connected with yourself.
Mm.
So this question of how do we define having it all is something that should be answered by everyone. And really, you should be honest with yourself. You don't have to say this to anyone else, not even your spouse. Just be honest with yourself. And I have been trying to do that more and more. And because I have a math background, I'll just share with you my interpretation of that question. Um, and I'll paint it in the split screen example just to drive the point, which is that I think the traditional stereotypical definition of having it all could be that I want to be all of these four things and I want to be them equally, which means 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. And since you're always going to be your own person, your own holistic self. That's one, right? So maybe learning to have it all can be similar to thinking that all the quadrants can still be up there, but you might be 20% for one, and you might be, and 60% here, and 10% here, and 10% here. And maybe that's the case today, or maybe that's going to be the case for this phase of life, because, in a way, I would say, my single screen version, if I had to paint it in quadrants, it would be that I have accepted that it'll take me longer to make films. I'm not going to stop making films, but I'm probably at 30% there. I would like to be, or sorry, rather, instead of 25, I would like to probably be at 40, 50% there, but I'm probably at 15% there, less than the 25% because of all the other obligations I have in life. And I'm okay with that. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's less about because a lot of the truth, like a lot of what's happening in your life, and you want to have it all, you may not be in a position to control. In fact, often most things in life, especially in this industry of film and TV and entertainment, a lot of things are not in your control. And that is certainly true when you're a parent. The very little is in your control. You can certainly try to influence and hopefully be a positive influence, but a lot of the things that are happening on a day-to-day basis are not in your control. So what can I do then is change my reaction to it. I can change my sense of acceptance of it. Instead of saying, no, I'm going to be in denial and this is not good enough. I'm going to keep trying. And we see the character in our film trying to do that. She doesn't accept. And then you see her accept. And for her, it looks a certain way. And for me, it looks a certain way. For you, it'll look a certain way. As long as we are having that dialogue and we're having some stillness within which to have that personal conversation with ourselves, that is what I hope for everyone. That is honestly, that is the thing. And in my realizing, in my sort of realization of that, I've had to curb down certain things. Like, there's a reason in the last 1 or 2 years, I'm not active on social media anymore. It's both a choice in that I didn't want to be, but also I don't feel like. And I can't possibly keep up with, like, we have a great film, we want to like market it and stuff. And we did that when we were crowdfunding, and we crowdfunded very responsibly, very sustainably, really like thinking of our team. At that time, I put my weight behind it. I'll probably come back and talk about the film when we are ready with the social impact campaign, maybe a festival here or there. But do I need to be on there daily or even weekly? No, I don't like to be. And I've chosen to deprioritize that part, because also that takes too much time. And I just chose not to give it time. So hopefully people can have that dialogue with themselves, and they can, and it's okay if you miss out. I think you have to be, I really like, I learned, FOMO, I think we all know, fear of missing out. I learned this concept, I don't know when, a couple years ago, JOMO, joy of missing out. I really enjoy missing out on things. Sometimes it's so nice to have, like my husband was playing soccer yesterday evening after our son's bedtime. That meant for 2 hours, I was home alone on the couch. That was lovely. So I love those moments where you can create stillness, or if you happen to find stillness, just enjoy that. So I that's sort of then it's like, open a glass of wine, or just watch something, or read something, or just sit and write something. It's really fun for me when I manage to steal those moments.
As I'm listening to you, as I've matured myself in my own path as a human, I, recall a statement that someone made, and it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And it's not what you're doing while you're living, it's how you're doing what you're doing while you're living it.
Beautiful.
That I go back to often. Thank you. I'm glad it resonates. And it to me, just to really kind of, I'm maybe passionate about writing or directing. I really maybe fired up and lit. Yeah, it was just, and yet, how do I channel that same energy if I have to go work at a retail store, and how can I be in that same kind? I'm the same person, how can I do that? And I think there's a way. I think there's a way.
I love this. I love what you just said, because I have also found, because my day job is in a very different field and it uses like a different part of my brain, like I have actually noticed that I am trying to continue to be myself, even when I'm in that setting. External environment is very different. The conversations are different. The work getting done is different, but I'm still the same person. So how am I showing up for that? And I am noticing that sometimes the things don't always get received well, but I feel good that I'm being consistent. I'm being that person.
Yeah.
And honestly, the thing that I value in art and in my own self is objectivity. And I know we can sometimes not be as objective with ourselves as we would like to. There's always going to be some kind of a confirmation bias that comes in. I've noticed from when I was a young person, like even from when I was like 9, 10 years old, the memories I have of how I received things and what are the things I sought were that I always was looking for a different perspective. Even in friends, conversation with friends, even in what attracted me to a partner. So objectivity is something I value the most. And luckily, or maybe by design, my day job is in an area where I have to provide that. So I will continue to speak that truth. And if you don't like it, in a way, don't shoot the messenger. I'm doing my job.
Right, right.
The tone matters more there.
Yeah.
So I'm working a little bit on tone, but like, because if you say a harsh thing
Yeah.
nicely, people
I
will.
know what you mean. I know what you
I'm
mean.
working on that.
I
But I
totally
will
get
not
it.
stop speaking the truth, and I will
Yeah.
also not stop being my truth.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
people don't like it, I really am okay with that. When I was younger, I was a people pleaser, but not so much anymore.
You know, they may not like it, but they'll trust it.
They'll trust it.
They'll
Trust
know.
is huge with me. It's
Yep.
very like I
Yeah.
say what I do and I do what I
Yeah.
say. So
That's
that's how
everything.
we made this film also.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so proud, not just of like the magical film that we made. I'm so proud of how we made it from the
Yeah.
beginning. Very proud of
Wow.
everyone on my team. They're just amazing.
It sounds incredible. I mean, I've made some shorts, and the short that I am thinking of that was made on a scale that's comparable to yours in terms of, size and crew, and it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. It was agony. So to hear, that you had such a awesome experience, I think you have a lot to teach there and a lot to share. And maybe we'll talk again about, how we can recreate that as filmmakers. For now, last question. How have you been personally changed since making this movie?
I'm really okay with not having deadlines on things now. I no longer have self-imposed timelines that I used to unconsciously attach to things, that by this time it would be great for this to happen. I really like I have also, the second thing is low expectations. I have
Awesome.
very low expectations from people, from film festivals, it's a shift I've noticed. And also my skin has become thicker. I went through a really difficult personal turmoil during this, because I had to really devote so much time, effort, resources during the making of this film and the crowdfunding, because we were in pre-production while we were trying to crowdfund. And $35,000 was a big portion of our overall budget. To crowdfund that, while you're in pre-pro, like it was
While
really.
you're having a baby, you have a baby. You have
Yeah,
what,
while
a
I have a
1
baby,
year
and
old?
actually not to give too much away, but we had somebody pregnant that we were working with.
Oh my
It was a
God.
lot. So obviously,
Superwoman.
no. So
But
this is what I'm
really,
trying to get at. So that's the appearance, but I had to have my conversation with my husband. My husband took on a lot of the slack around the house. Like I'm usually the person who does all the meals. Definitely was not able to do that. So,
wow.
or I did like half-assed meals, or like, we would have to. It was a whole thing. And then my mom came from India. God bless mothers everywhere on this planet and other planets, or maybe in other planets, dads, whatever. God bless parents.
All
My
right.
point is,
Yeah.
my mom came from India for a whole month while I was in
Wow.
LA on set,
Wow.
just to help out.
Wow.
But even before my mom came, my husband was doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And it's okay, the house was a little dirtier than normal, things like that. But a lot of other things we had to let slide. But the reason I was saying this was because there's a lot of really hurtful things happened during this period that hurt me less each time, because I realized I was doing this for like the internally motivated thing. So if something was coming, again, what I was saying, I'm going to speak objectivity, speak my truth. And if others don't like it, no matter who they are, and sometimes it can hurt when it comes from close quarters, it hurt me less and less. So
How? How did
I
that
think
happen?
first it hurt a lot. And then the second time, it was like, I love noticing patterns. So I was doing some like pattern analysis in my head. I was like, okay. And then the third and fourth time, it definitely hurt a little bit, because you have almost like a muscle memory. And then you always remember, was I doing it to please them or was I doing it for my own truth? That's why it's very important. I think I had heard this many years ago. Always know why you're making the film. Come back to that as your North Star. So after year, because I've always been a hypersensitive person, I get, like, as has happened during this discussion, I tear up like this. And whether it's good stuff or bad stuff, deep empath. And my parents have told me from a young age, you need to have a tougher skin. You're going to have a very difficult time in life. And this is even before I knew I was going to be on an artistic path. It's a gift to feel things deeply when you're an artist. But then how do you protect yourself? I'm almost 40. I've finally developed a slightly thicker skin. So this film has helped me do that. Those three things: no time-bound expectations, low expectations, and thicker skin.
I'm still curious about your journey of developing that thicker skin. I mean, I understand there's repetition there, but it's something had to have shifted in you in terms of, and it sounds like it has, in terms of less about people pleasing, but more putting the importance on sharing what is true to you.
That's a very deep question, deep follow-up question you've asked. And I wish there was a nicer way of saying this. But the realization I kind of came to is you can only rely on yourself. You have only yourself at the end of the day. You can be a mom, you can be a daughter, you can be a wife, you can be a dog mom, you can be a friend. And all of these things are precious to me. And I have wonderful people in my life. But at the end of the day, it is you and yourself.
Yeah.
In Hindi and Urdu, there's a bas main aur meri tanhai, which means me and my solitude.
Yeah,
so again, that's why and is so important to me in Cow Heavy and Floral, because it's who you are, who your connection is with yourself.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I do. Because it's the difference between your roles and your identity. You know, Richa Rudola, filmmaker, it's been an honor and a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for sharing your truth with us.
Thank you. I don't even know what I said, but
It's beautiful.
I love what I heard and love what I felt. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I'd love to keep in touch and hear more about Forward and DigiPops. I think you guys are doing something unique, innovative, and I would love to support.
Thank you. Thank you. That's super kind of you. We definitely will be in touch. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right. Bye, everybody on Play It Forward. Till next time.